Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning, May 31st, 2023. Here we are on the last day of May with some exciting continued discussion of what we initially brought up yesterday about a new simplified approach to helping clients get a free funding proposal. So we're going to dig in today and go through some process training. This is very, very simple. We've had a very strong response from many of you that wanted a simpler way to make money and help people. So let's go ahead and go through that now. If all is going well, my screen should be shared. And you see that our topic today is the free funding proposal process training. Again, yesterday we rolled this out. If you did not see yesterday's training, you may want to go back and visit it. Here, we're going to pick up from where we left off yesterday. So most of you are small business consultants and/or state directors. State directors build and manage the team of consultants. They're paid overrides from the consultants. Our consultants are earning now, instead of just $1,000, actually triple that. And instead of having to do the assessments, which they're certainly welcome to do, what we've been told by so many of you is make it simple. Many of you are busy, you're successful, you're juggling other things. So we were told, make it simple, make it easy. So here, all you would need to do is simply refer in an entrepreneur. You don't even have to do the assessment if you don't want to. You don't have to service. You don't have to collect. You don't have to sell anything to anyone. Just simply refer in entrepreneurs for a free funding proposal. And we'll dig more into, of course, what that means and how that works. So why would they want a free funding proposal? To be able to receive capital to start or grow business. We're going to talk to more today about the value proposition to the client, which is ultimately the most important thing. Is the client satisfied? Are they getting a good deal? In fact, they're getting a great deal. And then secondly, is it a good deal for you? So we'll go through that. We're going to become familiar with the value proposition and the process. So you can start making money when? Immediately. Sound good? All right, so let's start with looking at it from the client's perspective. And again, who is a client? This is an entrepreneur that's looking for money to start or grow a business. So what's in it for them? Let's start with that discussion, and then we'll blend into the process. So why is it that an entrepreneur should want to obtain a free funding proposal? Well, they're going to want to find out how much funding that they qualify for now. Right now. That's why it's all capital letters. So they can find out how much funding they can qualify for now, and then options to be able to access even more funding. So there's two stages. There's first of which what they can qualify for now, and then secondly, how to get more funding. Well, what would it take to get more funding? Well, probably to become more credible. So we'll assess their circumstances and then be able to help them become even stronger to access more. So let's pause for a second. Anyone have questions so far on how this is important? We're going to help them find out what they qualify for now. And then secondly, how to help them get even more. In other words, looking at their file, looking at how we can help it make it stronger. Any questions? Okay, let's move on then. So that's the first bullet. The second bullet is we want them to get fast funding. So why would they want a free funding proposal? To get fast funding is our second. Most cases, and we're going to go through success stories tomorrow. So we're going to go through real clients and talk about funding that they've been offered and accepted. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So we'll show you the proof in the pudding in a detailed deep dive. But in most cases, they're going to get their first tranche, their first round, that upfront funding in 7 days or less. Well, will they get all their funding in 7 days or less? Possibly, but many of them are going to need some help to be able to improve their profile to get their full amount. So we'll get them what they qualify for now very, very quickly, and then help them get strong enough to get the rest of the capital that they need. Make sense? Okay. There are no minimum credit scores for prospective clients to get a free funding proposal. So if they ask you, well, what's the minimum credit score that I would need to get approved? There are no minimum credit scores. They might ask you, well, what's the minimum time in business? You know, my business is brand new, or I haven't even formed it yet. That's fine. That's fine. Pre-revenue, pre-formation businesses can absolutely be funded. Is there an upfront cost? Absolutely not. We will not participate in what's called advance fee loan schemes. That's where you go pay someone some money up front, and then you hope to get funding later. There is no upfront cost for the free funding proposal. Now, it's not a free program. You know as well as I do, we're going to charge them a performance fee for the funding that they accept, but they pay that afterwards, right? So it's not free money. They're paying for the services. That's how we're able to pay you, of course. But there's no upfront cost when a person gets when they go through the free funding proposal process. There are no hard inquiries to get their funding offers. That's going to be another objection that people would say, well, is this going to be hard inquiries? Is this going to affect my credit? No, there's no hard inquiries to get the funding offers. They might ask you, well, what's the interest rate going to be? How much is this going to cost me? Well, frankly, we don't know. We'll have to see what offers they get, but there are offers as low as 0%. Because they're going to get offers and they're going to pick the ones they want, and they're going to say no to those that they don't want. So they're not required to take deals that they don't accept. So let's say that they're only willing to pay 6% interest. Let's say that that's their threshold. Well, they could accept one or more offers that meet that criteria. And let's say that there's one that's 6.5% interest. They could decline those. So the client's in charge. We're not getting some sort of power of attorney, not pretending to be the client, not forcing them into funding deals that they don't want. They're in charge. And then in addition to traditional funding, we have some unique business funding programs that are available. For example, and we're not saying everyone will qualify for every one of these. That's not the point, but we're just saying that there's different types of funding programs that the client might not be aware of or might not have access to otherwise. So here's just a couple examples. Don't drill too much on this, because you don't want people to latch on to it and say, well, okay, the only thing I want is the SBA loan with next day funding. Does that exist? Yes. One of our banking partners we have a preferred relationship with, and they absolutely do. They do fund SBA loans next day. That's almost unheard of in the industry. That's rare, right? But that's one of the banking relationships, lender relationships we have. So is that true? Absolutely true. And so that's one type of funding that they might qualify for. We've talked before about the Chapman Fund. The Chapman Fund was initially funded through a grant. It's administered through a taxing authority. We don't have to apply for a bank or through a credit union. The downside of the Chapman Fund is, of course, they will only fund up to $250,000. That makes some people angry with us. It's like, no, that's not enough. But that could just be the first tranche. Of course, we have the Opportunity Fund, which we've talked about before. There's no repayment for that. But the bottom line is we have contractual relationships with over 40 different lenders that are willing to provide immediate funding offers for each client that goes through the free funding proposal process. That's great. So these are some pretty strong bullets, some pretty strong value propositions for participants to want to participate. Let's pause for a second. Do any of you have questions about this? This is strong. So if you were talking to someone, again, you wouldn't have to make it this complicated. We provide you a free website. The website summarizes this. We're going deeper for our training today, but essentially you would just need to refer them to your website. We provide you a free link for. and we'll talk about the process in a moment. You don't have to talk about all of this with them, but I do want you to understand this is an incredible value proposition to the entrepreneur. Okay, so I think we're all on the same page. Now let's go ahead and go to the process. So what is it that the prospect does, the prospective client? And of course, this also means what you would do to help them, but let's just look at it from the client's perspective for a moment. So there's a simple form on guaranteedfunding.org on the free funding proposal page. Now, again, if you're a small business consultant, you should have your own website, your own link, and you would guide them towards this page on your free website. But the point is, it looks just the same as this. Now, at that point, there's two options. They could fill out the simple form, or frankly, you could fill it out for them because you're not committing them to anything, but you're putting them into the queue. So that's what A is saying. If you want to submit their information there, feel free to. If you want them to do it, they can do it. But the information that we need on this form is pretty basic, right? It's name, email, and phone number. That's all we need to get the process started. That's it. So of course you could put it in or they could put it in. It wouldn't matter. But they do need to understand the next step, which is step 2. We're going to send them via Adobe a one-page application, because for us to get them a funding proposal, to get them funding offers now, we need an application. And so let's go back to where we were. So the one-page application. It's confidential. It's easy to complete. It's going to ask some basic questions about their business to start with. Now, it's always going to say if applicable, because maybe they don't have a business yet, or maybe some of the questions we're asking they don't know, and that's okay. So they're not excluded if they don't have a business to a certain point yet, but it certainly is helpful to know where the business is. And then we ask a little bit of information about what we call the key person, the business owner. Very simple, one-page application sent to them via Adobe. So again, if you're filling out the information form on the website, on your website, just be sure to let them know to expect that they're going to receive an Adobe to complete. They need to know that that's the next step. And the system should copy you when that Adobe goes out. So you know that the Adobe app has gone to them. You're copied on that. And then when they complete it, you're copied on the executed version, the completed copy. Now, what's great for you as a small business consultant is you're seeing, for instance, how well is their business set up, right? Do they have a commercial address? Do they have a Duns and Bradstreet Paydex score and so forth? So, of course, you're understanding more about the credibility of the client's business as we are. Regardless of that, step 3 then is once they're submitted on the form and they complete the application via Adobe, now they're going to start receiving funding offers. Again, no hard inquiries, right? So I think we've pretty much eliminated every objection that a prospect could offer. Because, right, what normally would they push back on? Well, how good's my credit score have to be? There's no minimum credit score. How long do I have to be in business? There's no minimum time. Is there an upfront cost? No, there's no upfront cost. Is this going to create hard inquiries? No, there's no hard inquiries. Do I have to accept the funding that's extended? No, you can choose the ones you want. Is this going to be high interest rate funding? No, could be as low as 0%. But the point is, on number 3, they'll get the offers that they qualify for now. Now, again, we will work with them to improve them as we move forward, but initially we want to get them what they qualify for now. And that's what we're going to determine up front. Now, we're not going to just leave them to go figure it out on their own. We're going to have one of our funding advisors reach out to them. So there's going to be a personal touch. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to help them accept any immediate funding offers that they would like. And then also we're going to help them get qualified for additional funding. Now we have a couple asterisks here, so we need to go through this. Asterisk number one. Let's talk about our funding advisors. I think the last thing that most clients want is someone that's unqualified to be giving them funding advice, right? Who wants to get funding advice from someone that's not experienced, not educated, not successful? Probably not very many. So we're taking care of that through this process. So our funding advisors all have at least one of three backgrounds. They either come to us and they were former business bankers. They actually worked for a bank as a business lender, and or they either worked for the SBA, SBDC, and or they were a SCORE mentor. So these are qualified, experienced people, and we're hiring more, by the way, if you're interested in coming to work for us. But these funding advisors have a credible background. All of them have at least a master's degree. So they could have an MBA, they could have a PhD, but they're going to have at least a master's degree in business or finance. And all of them pass a background check, and the background check is criminal and credit. We don't want people that have shoddy financial backgrounds advising other clients. So again, the funding advisors that are working with these participants that you're referring into this process are very qualified individuals. Okay, so then our second asterisk, we're here. We're going to help them with whatever's necessary to qualify for a large capital raise, because I think we've got the gist of it, right? There's often going to be two tranches of funding. What do they qualify for right now that's hitting their bank account, often in 7 days or less? And then secondly, what do we need to do to be able to access more? And so that's what we're talking about here, is not only will we get them the funding that they qualify for right now, we're going to also help them build a stronger profile. So we can help them build their personal or business credit if needed. We can help them with collateral if needed. We can make sure that they have legally documented income if their business isn't set up. Whatever needs to be done, one of our funding advisors will work with them to get them from where they're at to where they need to be for that large capital raise. But even before that, we want to get them their first round of capital now. All right, so let's pause for a second on the process. So this is the process the client goes through. It's important for you as a small business consultant to understand it. And then secondly, it's important for us to help clients go through the process. So they complete the form either on the main website or on your replicated site. You can even put their information in for them if you want. Only need a couple pieces of information. Then they're going to be sent a one-page application via Adobe to complete. It's confidential and easy to complete. Then they're going to be able to receive offers, typically within 24 hours. We'll assign a funding advisor, myself or one of the others, who's going to reach out to them, help them with offers, and then work with them to get qualified for additional funding. So here is the 4-step process. Does anyone, before I continue on, anyone have questions on this? Because it's important that you understand this. It's simple, it's easy, it's credible. Okay, so Deborah's asking about what's in it for her. So let's go ahead and get to that. That's a fair question. And that is the next point. So I'm going to table Deborah's question. We'll go through this and then we'll make sure that we've answered it. Okay, so what is the proposition to you, Deborah, or to Bernard or Charles or Garnett or Holly or Jeanette or Lon or Netra, Patricia, Pia, Terrence, Mr. Brown, Wanda, for others? What's the value proposition to you? Obviously, there's a very, very clear and strong proposition to the client, but what's in it for you? And that's what Deborah is asking, which is a fair question. All right, well, Deborah, for you, or anyone else, first of all, our small business consultants get enrolled. We train, we support, we provide a free website, and they don't have to pay anything to become a small business consultant. There's no cost to enroll as a small business consultant. So that's important. And you see that as a theme, right? How much do they have to pay up front to go through the funding proposal process? Zero. There's no upfront cost. We don't believe in it. There's no upfront cost. The client pays nothing up front. They pay based upon results. People like that, right? As a small business consultant, you pay nothing to enroll as a small business consultant. Nothing. Secondly, as I've just described, there's no selling involved. So put yourself in the shoes of the consultant taking a client through this process. At what point did you sell them something? You didn't. At what point did you try to sell them something? You didn't. All you're trying to do is get them to fill out the simple form, which will result in them getting an application so we can get them funding offers, right? So it's financial literacy awareness building. It is not a sales position. So the second value proposition to you, Deborah, and other consultants is, in addition to no upfront cost to enroll as a small business consultant, there's no selling involved. It's really based around financial literacy, creating awareness of the funding proposal, help them request one. When I used to be a high school teacher, I taught seniors primarily, and economics is a required class, or at least it was at that time in Texas. So I had seniors. And so as I have seen high school seniors, and so I would ask, have you completed your FAFSA form yet? Because if you want to go to college, you should fill out the FAFSA form to see how much financial aid you receive. A lot of them hadn't, because they didn't necessarily know that they needed to or how to do it. So I would stay after school or come in the mornings or work through lunch and help students complete their FAFSA form so they could qualify for financial aid. That's a pretty decent analogy of what you and I are doing. We're not selling them anything, but we're trying to help them understand what type of financial aid, what type of financial programs, what type of funding do you qualify for now? That's what we're doing. Okay, Deborah asked also about how she's paid. Well, you're going to be paid 3 points off of each client's capital raise. So we know that she is, or he or she, each client is going to receive at least 100,000. That's guaranteed. And if you're getting 3 points off of that, then that is 3,000 per. Now, let's say that they receive 200,000 instead of 100,000. Well, 3% of 200,000 is 6,000. So you can see you're going to get a minimum of 3,000. The formula specific, which is Deborah's question, is 3 points off their capital raise. So it's really up to you as a small business consultant, how much money you want to make, how many people you want to help. Most of you are setting a goal of helping one client a day. So let's just use that as the norm. You may want to be busier, you may want to be less busy. Again, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to take people through these 2 steps, because we do the rest, right? You really only have 2 steps. Create awareness, either put them in or have them complete the funding proposal request form, which is name, email, phone, and then encourage them, if you wish, or you can be passive and not, to complete the application. But back to earnings. So it's 3,000 a pop, which is Deborah's question. So it's just a question of volume, as where I was before I digress. Most of you have a goal of helping one client a day. Well, it's pretty good income, right? And again, I know a lot of you are successful. This is a side gig, but there's a lot of people in our society that don't make $100,000 in a year. And if you're popping out $3,000 a day, assuming 30, 31 days in a month, I mean, it's putting you close to 6 figures on a monthly basis. Again, I know there's lots of things. You all are talented. There's a million different side gigs you could have, but this is a pretty attractive one in my mind. You pay nothing and you do no sales. You're helping people and you have the opportunity to earn an adult income. We pay, of course, next day with direct deposits, and it's a very simple process. So again, what we're doing here is answering the question that Deborah had, what's in it for her? Because before we spent a lot of time talking about what's in it for the client. The client's getting an unbeatable value proposition. We've discussed the process that the client will go through. And then now we just answered Deborah's question of what's in it for each of you as a small business consultant. So in summary, as a small business consultant, you're positioned to earn around $3,000 a day. Again, you control that. If you want to help one client a day, which is the norm, that's where we're coming up with that, by helping them. There's no upfront expense to you. There's obviously no upfront expense to the client. We provide you as a small business consultant free training. We're doing free training right now, as a matter of fact. We provide free support. We provide free leads, and we provide a free website. If you're not yet a small business consultant, you can certainly become one on our careers page, and you have our contact us information. So let's turn it over to you all. Okay, so Ms. Johnson has a question. If you've not submitted your W-9 with direct deposit information, just email us at support@guaranteedfunding.org, and we'll send over the Adobe to you to get you set up for the direct deposits. Normally, we'll send that once your first commission is due. But if you would like to have that set up even sooner, it would be our pleasure to send that to you. So just email us, request that, and we'll get that to you. What questions do any of you have? We've created a very simple process. Okay, the next question is, how do you get leads? Again, email us a request for leads. We'll send over a different Adobe, which is a lead request form, and we'll provide those to you for free. Oh, and that wasn't our question. The question was how often. We have a young man that manages the leads. He'll send you an initial batch. You'll work through those. You'll coordinate with him. As long as he feels that you're working the leads, then he'll continue to give you more. We have, I don't want to say infinite because that's too big of a number, but we have lots and lots of prospective small businesses that if you have the time to reach out to, we can keep you busy. And again, you're not selling them anything. All you're trying to do is help them get a free funding proposal. So we've made it simple for small business consultants. We've described the client value proposition. We've described the simple process. We've described what's in it for you. Obviously, we've reminded you how to reach out to us. Who has questions, comments, concerns on this? Timothy asked if he can go through it himself. Well, of course, right. So you could be a distribution partner, what we call small business consultant, and also go through the funding proposal yourself. Absolutely. Do you have to? Of course not, but you certainly could. And if you don't understand, I'm not throwing Timothy under the bus, but if you don't understand the process, then we have a major disconnect, because that's what we just literally went through. This is the process. Sometimes I'll get these, what seems to me like a goofy question. Well, if I want to do it, I want to be a success story. How do I do it? Well, the process is the same, right? It doesn't matter if it's you or your neighbor or your pastor or a stranger. It doesn't matter. This is the process. This is the process. And yes, tomorrow we're going to go through success stories. I'm proud, and I want you to be proud and confident of the type of results that we're seeing by going through this. We'll go through specific clients and the type of funding that they're getting by going through the simple process. That'll be tomorrow's training on June 1st. So, in summary, if you're looking to help people, what a great way to help people. If you're looking to make extra side income, what an incredible way to make extra side income. I mean, you're controlling the volume, but at $3,000 a pop, I mean, even let's say you just help 2 clients a week, refer them in, just 2. I mean, that's $6,000 a week for a side gig. And I know a lot of you are big hitters, but who couldn't use an extra $6,000 for side income? Set it aside and put it in your retirement account if you want. Use it to pay down debt. Use it to take trips. You use it for whatever you want. But this is material income for helping small businesses. We're not trying to sell you on anything. You don't have to pay something to become a small business consultant. You sign up for free. We're not trying to make a salesperson out of you. The participants are not paying anything up front. They're agreeing to pay a performance fee of the capital raised. And they're happy to, the vast majority are perfectly happy to do that because they realize there's no free lunch, but they don't pay up front. Netra asked about for clients that have more than one business. That's absolutely right. So we can have one person enroll for multiple funding proposals, one per business. And so we use emails for better words. We use emails as our unique identifiers in our system. So when we get down here to submitting, yeah, you could submit the same person that has multiple businesses, but ideally provide us a different email address for each submission, so we treat them as separate, and you'll be paid off of every one of them. So yes, they'll get funding proposals for each of their businesses. Multiple is fine, and you'll get paid off of each of those. So that is fine. We've had the most we've had that I remember is one individual who signed up 10 times, had 10 different businesses, and that's great. So we make the same promise, the same commitment. So again, tomorrow we'll get back together, 8 o'clock Central, same time, and we're going to go through some success stories. I want you to see, I want you to understand the type of success, the type of funding offers that these individuals are getting going through this. This is not just meant for people with great credit. It's not meant for just people with bad credit. You know, we have different funding programs regardless of credit, regardless of time in business, but we just don't know up front what they're going to qualify for. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't want to lie. We don't want to mislead, of course. So that's exactly why they should go through this. Well, let's see what you qualify for now, and then we'll work with you to make sure that you get at least 100,000. But we can certainly get you funding offers now. How do we do that? We have unique contractual partnerships with over 40 different lenders that without any hard inquiries, we will provide you immediate funding offers, and you can accept those that you want. You can decline those that you don't want. So it's a great proposition. So any other questions before we end it today? We'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. and our focus tomorrow is to go through some funding success stories. So you see that the model works, because it certainly does. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.